Glassware apparatus are the different types of containers such as flasks and funnels, which are used in laboratories in order to perform experiments. The glassware apparatus offers many functions such as the storage and transportation of the solution and other liquids.
So before we proceed, allow us first to state our objectives. At the end of this lesson, we anticipate that the students should be able to determine the varieties of cleaning and marking laboratory wares. Secondly, should be able to know the general procedure for all glassware. Thirdly, to know the proper ways of cleaning and marking laboratory wares. And last but not the least is to know the importance of cleaning and marking laboratory ware.
Cleaning laboratory glassware. Dirty glassware can lead to erroneous results in science lab experiments, as it prevents the glass from being uniformly wetted and can distort the meniscus, preventing the correct results from being obtained. Keeping the laboratory glassware physically neat and clean, free of grease and bacteria is therefore the utmost importance.
In laboratory equipment, a beaker is generally a cylindrical container with a flat bottom. Most also have a small spout or beak. To aid pouring, as shown in the picture, beakers are available in a wide range of sizes, from 1 milliliter up to several liters. A beaker is distinguished from a flask by having straight rather than sloping sides. The exception to this definition is a slightly conical-sided beaker called a Phillips beaker. The beaker shape is generally drinkware and similar. Beakers are commonly made of glass. Cleaning laboratory glassware is important because contaminated or dirty glassware can lead to inaccurate results in a lab. A good way to confirm that your glassware is clean is to make sure that distilled water uniformly wets the surface.
So here are the procedures on how to clean a beaker. So first, the beaker should be rinsed with an organic solvent. So it's either acetone or ethanol. In order for us to remove the organic residues inside the beaker. Take note that the used water or the used rinsed water should be discarded in the organic waste bin. Okay. Second, we should use warm tap water and a soapy water and then brush, okay, in order for us to scrub the inside of the beaker. Take note that the water used or the rinsed water should be discarded in the sink. Okay. Third, in order for us to remove soap suds or even avoid harsh water stains, the beaker should be rinsed with the ionized water. Okay. Now, fourth, the beaker should be rinsed with distilled water. Now, this distilled water, when poured inside the beaker, it should wet the beaker uniformly. Okay, or it should make a sheeting action. As I have mentioned, that once we pour the distilled water inside the beaker, it should wet the beaker or the inside of the beaker uniformly. However, if this process does not happen, or if this action does not happen, then we should proceed to a more aggressive cleaning. Now, to what's this? To expedite the beaker's drying process, we should rinse the beaker with an acetone. Okay? Now, in marking a beaker, we should mark it on the side where the lines char. In marking the beaker, we should mark it on the side with the lines indicating the volume contained in a beaker. For example, if I have a 250 milliliters volume of beaker, it would be it might be marked to indicate where the 50 milliliter is, the 100, the 200, and the 250 milliliters of the beaker's volume. So that's it.
The Erlenmeyer flask is a tool usually made of glass, consists of a flat bottom, a tapered neck, a conical body, and an opening that can be closed by a stopper.
So by cleaning the Erlenmeyer flasks that are only used to dispense or store reagents, generally only need to be triple rinsed with a compatible solvent, followed by tap water and a final deionized water rinse, if desired, then air dry on a drying rack.
On marking, Erlenmeyer flasks have graduated marks on the side to read approximate volumes, however they are not highly accurate.
Graduated cylinder. A graduated cylinder is an equipment used to measure the volume of a liquid. Feature a narrow cylindrical shape with markings along the cylinder that represent the amount of liquid being measured.
With your appropriate gloves on, degrease your gradual cylinder's ground glass joints by wiping them with a paper towel soaked in a small amount of either acetone or other solvent. Place the glassware in a warm concentrated aqueous solution of Alconox or other detergent and let it rest for a couple of minutes. Next, give the graduated cylinder a scrub using an appropriate brush and rinse thoroughly with tap water and give a final rinse with distilled water. Lastly, dry the graduated cylinder using a lint-free cloth to remove the excess liquid inside the graduated cylinder.
Markings. The unit used in graduated cylinder is the milliliter. It usually have heavy markings at 10, 20, 30, etc. milliliters. There are smaller markings in between the larger units called graduations. These graduations should be read into the nearest tenth of a milliliter. For instance, 46.5 ml or 20.0 ml.
Watch glass. A watch glass is a round piece of glass used in laboratories as a surface to evaporate liquids, to weigh solids, for heating substances or powders, and as a cover for a beaker to prevent dust or any particles entering the beaker. Furthermore, it is often used to cover beakers with sodium hydroxide to avoid excess reaction with the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. How to clean a watch glass? First, to remove organic residues, rinse the glassware briefly with an organic solvent, acetone or ethanol. The used rinse will then be disregarded into organic waste. Second, use warm tap water and a brush with soapy water to scrub the inside of carved glassware. This water can go down the sink.
Number 3 is remove substance with deionized water to avoid harsh water stains. The DI water rinse should form a smooth sheet when poured through clean glassware. If this sheeting action is not seen, more aggressive cleaning is needed to expedite the glass drying process. Rinse again with the acetone to remove water. The residual acetone will go into the organic waste container. And how to mark a watch glass. There are a few different ways to mark watch glass in experiment. One way is to use a permanent marker to draw a line or circle around the area you want to measure. Another way is to use tape or stickers to create a border around the area you want to measure.
Test tubes and rocks. A round piece of glass used in laboratories as a surface to evaporate liquids, to weigh solids for heating substances or powders, and as a cover for a beakers to prevent dust or any other particles entering the beaker. Often used to cover beakers with NaOH to avoid excess reaction with the CO2 in the atmosphere.
Filtering flask. A filtering flask is a piece of labware used to separate solids from fluids in filtration operations. To filter substances, the flask is used with a filtering funnel, such as a Buchner funnel, which incorporates a fritted glass disc or perforated plate fitted with a piece of filter paper to filter particles.
When cleaning a filtering flask, we have 5 steps to be followed. First step is we're going to rinse the flask with distilled water to remove any residue. Second step is to wash the flask with a suitable detergent such as a mild non-ionic detergent or a phosphate-free detergent. Third step is you have to scrub the flask with a brush or sponge to remove any stubborn residue. Fourth step is you have to rinse the flask thoroughly with distilled water to remove all detergent residue. The last step is you have to dry the flask with a lint-free cloth or allow it to air dry.
So in the markings, this flask without tubulation are blown in special molds, in shapes designed to give maximum mechanical strength. These flasks are graduated to show their approximate capacity. Mark filter flask to avoid confusion without similar sizes of Erlenmeyer flask. Small filtering flasks are recommended for microchemical use. All flasks have permanent white enamel graduations and marking spots.
A volumetric flask is lab glass or plasticware used to prepare a solution. It is used to make up a solution to a known volume. Volumetric flasks are used to measure volumes much more precisely than beakers or Erlenmeyer flasks. Marking of volumetric flask. The neck of volumetric flask is elongated, narrow with an etched ring graduation marking. The marking indicates the volume of liquid contained when filled up to that point. The marking is typically calibrated to contain at 20 degrees Celsius and indicated correspondingly on a label.
Cleaning procedure in volumetric flask. In cleaning volumetric flask, first is clean the pipettes and volumetric flask using warm soapy water. Then, rinse with tap water followed by 3 to 4 rinses with deionized water. This water rinse should form a smooth sheet with poured through clean glassware. If this sheeting action is not seen, more aggressive cleaning may be needed. Lastly, dry using acetone to remove water. This acetone rinse will be disposed in organic waste container.
Separatory funnel is a standard piece of equipment in synthetic chemistry. It generally consists of a conical or pear-shaped glass body with a stopcock and a stopper on top. The conic shape allows for the clean separation of the two layers because of a small interface on the low end. So how to clean a separatory funnel? To clean a separatory funnel, first rinse it with acetone into a waste container.
Then wash the funnel with soap and water at your bench top. Disassemble the Teflon stopcock if used. After rinsing with distilled water, allow the parts to dry separated in your locker. While in marking, these separatory funnels feature smooth tool tips, large white-black letters, and large marking squares.
A glass funnel is a glass tube or pipe that is wide at the top with a narrowly extended path at the bottom used for guiding chemical solutions into larger glassware. Basic steps in cleaning a glass funnel is first remove used filter paper. Second is to scrub off remaining residues with a brush, taking care not to damage the funnel. Third is clean the funnel using appropriate solvents like water, acetone, and others, and vacuum filtration. Fourth is to soak the funnel overnight in an appropriate cleaning solution. Always make sure that your cleaning solution is compatible with the chemical residues in your funnel. Number 5 is use vacuum filtration to wash the funnel thoroughly with distilled water. Sixth is dry and use. Marking a glass funnel is not really necessary since it is only used to channel liquids into containers with a narrow opening.
A test tube, also known as a culture tube or sample tube,
is a common piece of laboratory glassware consisting of a finger-like length of glass or clear plastic tubing, open at the top and closed at the bottom. So now let us proceed to the cleaning procedure. First, pour out the waste liquid in the test tube. Second, fill the test tube with half of the water, shake it up and down to wash away the dirt. Pour out the water, put it in the water, shake, and repeat, then rinse several times. If there are stains on the inner wall of the test tube that is difficult to wash off, use the test tube cleaning brush to scrub at this time. We must choose the appropriate test tube brush according to the size and height of the test tube. First, use a test tube brush dipped in detergent or soapy water to scrub and then rinse with clean water. When using the test tube brush to scrub, slowly move up and down and rotate the test tube brush. Do not use excessive force to avoid the damage to the test tube. And lastly, for the clean glass instrument, when the water attached to the tube wall will not gather into droplets or flow down in a stream, it means that the device has been cleaned. The washed glass test tube should be placed on the test tube rack or in a designated position.
A test tube is a laboratory tool made of either tempered glass or hard plastic that is always longer than it is wide. Size can vary, but in general, most test tubes are between 13 to 20 millimeters in width or diameter and 50 to 250 millimeters in length or height. Although centrifuge tubes have graduated markings, test tubes are not used for measuring solutions or liquids.
In the lab, buncher funnels are used for vacuum-assisted liquid filtration. These funnels are used in organic chemistry to collect recrystallised molecules since they aid in drying out the final product. How to clean? Before turning on the vacuum pump, once again, add a few milliliters of the washing liquid to the filter so that it is completely coated. Following that, rinse off any acid with a lot of water. Then, after emptying the buncher, change the acetone in the washing solution. Buncher funnel does not need marking, but it had different sizes and measurements. It is used in the laboratory for vacuum-assisted liquid filtering.
A crucible is a type of laboratory glassware designed to melt or burn solid chemicals over a burner. Made from heat-resistant ceramic or metal, it withstands a high temperature up to 1050 degrees Fahrenheit. Cleaning crucibles or a crucible cover are usually preferred for lab men, and it requires basic chemicals and supplies in cleaning. So step 1. Gently scrape as much as a residue left from the materials used in the experiment from the crucible. Step 2. Fill the crucible with a fused potassium bicarbonate, needing an enough bicarbonate to fill the entire crucible. Step 3. Place the crucible in a burner. Heat the crucible until the fused bicarbonate melts. Using a mixing rod, stir the melt a few times and the melting procedure should take about 1 minute. Step 4. Remove the crucible from the flame, then pour out the melt. Step 5. Rinse the crucible in a hot water, then use a clean cloth to dry the surface. After that, let the crucible cool.
In marking a crucibles, first we need to wash and rinse 4 10 ml crucibles and their lids. Identify each of the crucibles by means of existing visual differences. Carefully note in your lab notebook what these identifying marks are and assign a number to each crucible. Do not use marking pens or pencils to mark your crucibles.
A glass stirring rod is used to stir or mix solutions. One of their main uses is to scratch the side of glassware, such as an urn, Mayer flask to start the crystallization process in many experiments. A simple way to keep steering rods clean is to place them in a beaker of clean distilled water and swirl them about after each use. The contamination will be highly diluted and can remain in the water. It is advisable to change the water periodically to minimize contamination, however.
A volumetric burette is made of glass or plastic material with a volume scale printed on the burette wall.
To clean the burette, you can use the following procedure. Rinse the burette with distilled water with the stopcock closed. Add some distilled water and drain. Then, rinse it with solution. If droplets remain on the inside surface, wash the burette with detergent solution. Rinse several times with tap water, then rinse 3 times with distilled water. After draining the final distilled water rinse, close the stopcock and add about 5 ml of the solution to be dispensed from the burette. For its maintenance, use the following procedure. After you have finished with the burette in your experiment, drain the remaining solution first, and then rinse it by filling with distilled water and allow to drain.
In marking a volumetric burette, the burette has calibration lines at 0.10 ml intervals, enabling for the estimate of varying liquid levels to the hundredths of a milliliter. To illustrate the sensitivity of the volume measurement, record all values from markings and one number calculated between marks.
Alcohol
Alcohol
thermometer
thermometer
is
is
an
an
alternative
alternative
to
to
the
the
mercury
mercury
in
in
glass
glass
thermometer
thermometer
and
and
has
has
similar
similar
functions.
functions.
Liquid
Liquid
used
used
can
can
be
be
pure
pure
ethanol,
ethanol,
toluene,
toluene,
kerosene,
kerosene,
or
or
isoamyl
isoamyl
acetate,
acetate,
depending
depending
on
on
manufacturer
manufacturer
and
and
working
working
temperature
temperature
range.
range.
Since
Since
these
these
are
are
transparent,
transparent,
the
the
liquid
liquid
is
is
made
made
more
more
visible
visible
by
by
the
the
addition
addition
of
of
a
a
red
red
or
or
blue
blue
dye.
dye.
To
To
clean
clean
an
an
alcohol
alcohol
thermometer.
thermometer,
Use
use
a
a
cotton
cotton
swab
swab
tip
tip
in
in
alcohol
alcohol
to
to
clean
clean
the
the
inside
inside
of any
any
small
small
crevices.
crevices.
Allow
Allow
the
the
alcohol
alcohol
to
to
air
air
dry
dry
on the
on the
thermometer
thermometer
to
to
effectively
effectively
kill
kill
germs.
germs.
You
You
can
can
rinse
rinse
the
the
device
device
under
under
cool
cool
water
water
to
to
remove
remove
any
any
traces
traces
of
of
alcohol,
alcohol,
taking
taking
care
care
not
not
to
to
wet
wet
the
the
electronic
electronic
elements,
elements
such
such
as
as
the
the
display.
display.
The
The
range
range
of
of
usefulness
usefulness
of
of
the
the
thermometer
thermometer
is
is
set
set
by
by
the
the
boiling
boiling
point
point
of the
of the
liquid
liquid
used.
used.
In the
In the
case of
case
the
of the
ethanol
ethanol
filled
filled
with
with
thermometer,
thermometer,
the
the
upper
upper
limit
limit
for
for
measurement
measurement
is
is
78
78
degrees
degrees
Celsius
Celsius
or
or
172.4
172.4
degree
degree
Fahrenheit,
Fahrenheit,
which
which
makes
makes
it
it
useful
useful
for
for
measuring
measuring
daytime,
daytime,
nighttime,
nighttime,
and
and
body
body
temperatures,
temperatures,
although
although
not
not
for
for
anything
anything
much
much
hotter
hotter
than
than
this.
this.
To sum up everything we've said thus far, it is important for us to clean and mark the laboratory wares due to the fact that they provide accurate results. An unclean laboratory is as harmful as an inaccurate result. The apparatus, especially the glassware, used in labs must be cleaned after every use. The remnants of previous tests, moistures, or even dust particles can alter the laboratory result. Furthermore, laboratory glassware should be used for the designated purpose only. In no case should such glassware be used for serving beverages or other food items, as this can lead to serious harm through contamination from laboratory chemicals. And by being aware of these preventions, we will be able to improve the overall efficiency of laboratory operations. With proper care and maintenance, you can not only increase the life of your labware, but can also enhance your lab safety.